Okay, so we've got some articles here about the Purchasing Managers Index, and, well, the economic outlook isn't exactly uh, a walk in the park right now, is it?
No, not really.
We've got this PMI dipping below 50 for what feels like forever.
Mm-hmm.
And for manufacturers, I mean, that's got to feel like a real gut punch.
It definitely signals a change, a shift in the economic winds, if you will.
Right.
And what I think is so interesting here is how that translates to like actual challenges that manufacturers are facing.
Yeah. It's not just numbers on a chart. It's like real world stuff.
Right.
Real world impacts on budgets,
Mm-hmm.
projects,
Yeah.
the overall mood. It's
Totally.
palpable.
Absolutely. It's like, think of the PMI as a barometer of manufacturer confidence.
Yeah.
And when it dips below 50, that confidence wanes and suddenly those big expansion plans or new product launches, they start to feel a lot riskier.
So fewer projects getting approved, tighter budgets across the board.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's hitting the brakes, even if they have a fantastic destination in mind.
That's a great way to put it. And that hesitation can be costly, right? Because imagine a manufacturer with like a game-changing product ready to launch, but with the PMI low, they might delay. They might say, let's wait. And that gives their competitors a chance to catch up.
Yeah. Okay, so we've painted a pretty, maybe a somewhat bleak picture here.
Huh.
But our deep dive today isn't about doom and gloom. It's about finding opportunities even in a low PMI environment.
Absolutely. And one of the most crucial things I think manufacturers can do is shift their focus to high-impact investments.
High impact investment.
Yeah.
So not just cutting costs willy-nilly, but being strategic about it, choosing where to put those precious dollars to work.
Exactly. It's about pinpointing those projects and initiatives that'll deliver the biggest bang for your buck right now. Things that can boost efficiency, streamline operations, and ultimately strengthen that bottom line.
Let's get specific. What kind of investments are we talking about here?
Well, one example that really stood out to me from the source material was upgrading e-commerce platforms. Might seem counterintuitive when budgets are tight, I know, but think about it. A really seamless online experience that can make customers happier,
Yeah.
And it can increase sales, reduce those operational costs.
So instead of seeing e-commerce as like, ugh, another expense,
Yeah,
manufacturers should really be looking at this as a way to actually save money
absolutely.
and boost revenue,
Yeah, especially in a low PMI environment.
especially when things are tight.
For sure. And the beauty of e-commerce is it lets you reach, a much wider audience without the overhead of traditional expansion.
Oh, that's huge.
That's critical when the economic outlook is uncertain.
I can see how that would be super appealing. But
Yeah.
e-commerce isn't a magic bullet, right? There's got to be other things, other strategic moves that manufacturers need to be considering.
You're absolutely right. Another key area to zero in on is customer retention. In a downturn, keeping your existing customers happy, keeping them coming back for more, that becomes even more critical.
Makes sense. Holding on to that steady revenue stream
Yeah,
when new sales might be a little harder to come by.
for sure.
What does the source material suggest as ways to really kind of boost that customer retention?
Well, they emphasize, a seamless online experience. So again, tying back to what we were talking about with e-commerce, when ordering is easy, the information is readily available, customer service is fantastic, you're building that kind of loyalty that can weather any storm.
It's not just about getting new customers.
Right.
It's about making sure the ones you have stick around. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got high impact investments, we've got customer retention. Anything else that manufacturers should really have on their radar in a low PMI environment?
Well, flexibility is key. It's not just about riding out the waves. It's about being ready to capitalize on the upturn when it comes.
So how can they prepare for that? What does that kind of flexibility actually look like in practice?
I think it's about having scalable projects ready to launch, initiatives that can be implemented quickly, things that will deliver tangible results in a short time frame. We're not talking about, year-long implementations here.
Right. Quick wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This has been a fantastic overview. I'm really, really liking this.
Yeah.
But the PMI is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot more that manufacturers really need to consider when it comes to strategic decision making, especially in uncertain times.
Yeah. And that brings us to a really crucial point from our second source material, which is the need for data-driven decision making. The PMI is important, but it's not the only factor.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Huh.
Let's dive into that data piece a bit further in part 2 of our deep dive.
So, in our last segment, we were talking about how a low PMI can make manufacturers hesitant to invest.
Right, like hitting the brakes even if you've got a great destination in mind.
Exactly. But what's interesting is this hesitation, that itself can become a risk.
Okay.
The source material uses a really great analogy. Delaying key investments during a downturn is like skipping your annual checkup to save money. You might feel okay in the short term, but you could be setting yourself up for bigger problems later on.
Right, so like putting off important upgrades or efficiency improvements might save a few bucks today,
Yeah,
but then it can really hurt you when things pick back up again.
exactly. Exactly. And that's where the idea of, data-driven decision-making really comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It's about taking a step back from that fear-based response and using data to make informed choices, even when things are a bit murky.
Okay, so how can manufacturers actually use data to navigate this kind of low PMI environment? Give me some real-world examples.
Okay, so imagine you're a manufacturer with multiple product lines. In a downturn, not all products are going to perform equally well,
Right.
but data can reveal which lines are the most profitable, and that allows you to adjust your production.
This audio session is brought to you by Corvist, your go-to B2B e-commerce platform for manufacturers using SAP. Whether you run ECC, S/4HANA, or are migrating to clean core operations with SAP BTP, Corvist integrates seamlessly with your ERP, enhancing customer experiences and streamlining operations. Ready to transform your e-commerce strategy? Visit Corvist.com to learn more.
Accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
You might even discover what I like to call hidden gems, products with surprisingly strong demand, even when the economy is down.
So it's like using data to kind of figure out, okay, who are your winners, who are your stars, and maybe even uncover some unexpected opportunities.
Absolutely. Another example is inventory management. Holding excess inventory, that ties up capital, and that's especially costly when money is tight. Data can help you optimize those inventory levels, make sure you have enough to meet demand, but without the unnecessary waste.
That makes a lot of sense. I imagine, though, gathering all this data and analyzing it, I mean, it's got to be a challenge for manufacturers,
Uh-huh.
especially smaller ones who maybe don't have a whole, data science team.
That's a really good point. But even without those, fancy analytics tools, manufacturers can leverage data sources that are already available. Your e-commerce platform, for example, I mean, that's a goldmine of customer data.
Oh, right. We were just talking about the importance of e-commerce in our last segment.
Exactly. By analyzing that website traffic, the purchase history, customer interactions, you can glean so many insights. Customer preferences, product demand, even potential areas for improvement.
It's like having a finger on the pulse of your market,
Yes.
even when things are a bit volatile.
Exactly. Exactly. And this data can inform everything. Everything from your marketing campaigns to product development, even customer service strategies.
Wow. Okay, so data is clearly essential for making smart decisions in this low PMI environment. But I want to go back to that e-commerce piece for a minute.
Okay.
I'm curious, how can manufacturers actually measure the return on investment, the ROI of their e-commerce platform, especially when budgets are tight?
That's a great question, and it's where things get really, really interesting. The source material highlights a few key metrics to track. First, you want to look at your customer acquisition cost. How much does it cost you to get a new customer through your e-commerce platform versus, say, traditional channels?
Okay, so if e-commerce is bringing in those new customers more cost effectively,
Yeah.
that's a win.
That's a win, right? Then analyze your average order value. Are customers spending more when they're buying online?
Okay.
Because often those platforms, they make it easier for customers to discover related products, which leads to, bigger orders.
So not only are you acquiring customers more efficiently, they're spending more per order.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Powerful combination.
Yeah.
And then finally, you've got to look at customer lifetime value. Are customers who buy online more likely to come back and buy again?
Right.
Because a well-designed e-commerce experience, that can really foster loyalty.
So it's not just about the immediate sale, it's about building those relationships
Yes.
that contribute to long-term profitability.
Exactly. Exactly. And what's amazing is all of this data can be tracked. It can be analyzed. It allows manufacturers to make these data-driven decisions about how to, optimize that e-commerce strategy.
This is all making a lot of sense.
Right.
I'm also wondering, though, about the human element here. We've talked a lot about data technology, but how can manufacturers make sure their teams are on board with all of these changes? especially when, we're talking about a low PMI environment where morale might already be a little shaky.
That is a really crucial point, and I think in part 3 we should really dive into the importance of communication and training and building a culture of data-driven decision-making within manufacturing organizations.
Welcome back to our deep dive into navigating a low PMI. We've covered a lot of ground in the last 2 segments, right?
Yeah, a lot. From analyzing what the PMI actually means to the whole potential of e-commerce and, of course, the importance of using data.
Yeah.
Making decisions based on data.
You know what's really struck me throughout this whole conversation is that a low PMI, it doesn't have to be this death sentence for manufacturers.
No, not at all.
It really can be like this catalyst almost.
Yeah, I agree.
For innovation, for streamlining operations, for making your business stronger, more competitive.
It's like use this time, right? This uncertain time. Yeah. As a chance to, look back, reevaluate your strategies, see what you can optimize. And then when things pick up again, you're in a better place.
Exactly. Come out stronger on the other side.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where the human element comes in. We touched on it at the end of part 2. It's not just about the data, the tech, it's the people.
Always about the people.
It's about the people. So in this low PMI environment where maybe morale is already a little bit, shaky, how can manufacturers really get their teams on board with these changes?
I think the biggest thing is communication. Be transparent, talk to your people, let them know, hey, here are the challenges we're facing with this low PMI.
Yeah.
But here's the good stuff, too. Here are the opportunities.
Yeah.
And here's why we're making the decisions we are. Here's how those decisions will benefit, the company and all of you as employees in the long run.
So it's like being upfront and honest.
Yes.
But also emphasizing, this is how we can grow from this. This is how we can become better.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's not just about, leadership talking to the employees. It's got to be a two-way street.
Right. So encourage that dialogue.
Yeah.
Get feedback, get input.
Absolutely. Because those folks on the front lines, they have so much insight.
You know what's working, they know what isn't.
They know.
Yeah.
So that open communication, that's where you can really tap into the wisdom of your workforce.
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
What about training?
Oh, training is huge. Investing in training programs so that your employees have the skills they need, to really succeed in this data-driven environment.
Right. If you're asking them to embrace e-commerce,
Yeah.
to use data analytics, you got to give them what they need.
Right. Give them the tools, give them the support. And remember, training, it's not a one-time thing.
Right.
Tech changes all the time. Manufacturers need to keep their teams up to date, if they want to stay ahead of the game.
It's a constantly evolving landscape.
It is.
So this is pointing to a larger cultural shift within these manufacturing companies, right?
Yeah, I think so. Moving away from that culture of, oh, no, we can't, being afraid to change
Right.
towards one where it's like, let's look at the data, let's make informed decisions, let's innovate and keep getting better, always.
That's awesome. And this is relevant for anyone, not just manufacturers. Any business facing uncertainty, this applies.
100%.
Yeah.
It's about embracing change, using data, and empowering your team.
Love that. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a thought to kind of carry with them.
Okay, I'm listening.
Remember, a low PMI, it's not a sign of defeat. It's a signal to adapt, to innovate, to create a business that's more resilient,
Yes.
more successful. And you can do that. You can do that by focusing on those strategic investments, using that data, empowering your team. You can turn this time of challenge into a time of incredible growth, incredible opportunity.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So to our listeners, embrace the challenge, stay curious, never stop learning. The future is bright if you're willing to adapt, to evolve.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Until next time.